Interestingly enough, I was just reading some emails, and it appears that a blast from the past, from the 90s, has just sent his money in for the, this is a infamous name, one of the names I can't use, for the Christmas seminar. It appears a blast from the past. 100% he sent the money in. So, be interesting. Could have some interesting repercussions. In the past, he's the kind of guy that would pay for everybody's seat and just didn't want anybody there, and he'd be the only one. So it'll be interesting to see. We've been talking about comfort zones and the movie Rudy, which is famous, and I'm sure the YouTubers have seen it as well. And we're gonna get down to the down and dirty why some of you, some of you. And the world have problems facing the realities of life vis-a-vis your comfort zone. And the slide I'm about to show you was written about 15 years ago, and it was on the front page of the second or third section of the Los Angeles Times. And it was about turning 50. But the implications of the article were that we don't like ourselves because when we look in the mirror, we're ugly. Contrary to what your mommy's told you. What a cute little baby you were. She lied. You're ugly fucks. Your nose is too big. Well, yours is. Your nose is too big. Your dick's too little. Your ass is too big. Your tits are too small. You're basically just just slapped together like fucking Einstein did to fucking the creature. I'm alive! Remember the movie? Okay. And this is why we have problems, because we don't like what we see when we look in the mirror. And I'm bald, I'm this, I'm that, I wear glasses, or whatever. We grow a beard to cover our face up, we grow a mustache, whatever, but we still don't like what we see. So the sooner you come to grips with, by the way, this article was written by some cunt, 26 years old, who I called the cunt. What the fuck do you know about turning 50? You fucking slag. Anyway, that's a whole other story. Anyway, so, but the implication is not just 50, because at 50 everything breaks down. Not everything, but a lot of shit does break down. And that's the truth. I can speak for that myself, and although I feel better now at 70 than I did, most people do at 40, but I mean, you get varicose veins, your arthritis hurts, you can't get it up, women are going through menopause, all kind of bad shit happens. It all happens. That's all true. But it's not what happens to you in life, it's how you interpret, right? But the real implication is the fact that whether you're 15, 20, 40, 50, or 70, like I'm about to be, is part of the thing that we've struggled with from self-esteem, self-worth, etc., is we don't like what we look like. Because we come to the realization sooner than later, contrary to what your mommy's told you, pretty little baby, you're an ugly little fuck that's growing up into a medium-sized large fuck. And all that is bullshit. Just like your mommy said, you can be anything you want in life. And that's really the basis, of your self-esteem, your self-worth, etc. And the sooner that we come to grips with who we are as an individual, and the sooner that we come to grips that it doesn't matter what we look like, assuming that you're not Quasimodo from the Hunchback of Notre Dame, which even they're okay. They're not going to be calling on many financial institutions though, because most financial guys are not going to get past the fact that he's got a big like this, Quasimodo. Now, we've had some Quasimodos come through this fucking program. Literally. And I wouldn't be giggling some of you guys in here because you're no fucking... Now, I don't think Brad Pitt's good looking myself, but you're no fucking Brad Pitts. We ain't got no fucking Brad Pitts in here. So Clooney, another one they think is good looking. I don't think he's... Anyway, but I don't like guys, so maybe that's why I don't think they're good looking. So maybe it's good that I don't think they're good looking. But that's why you're nervous. That's why you lack the confidence to go out and do things, etc. But nobody talks about this. Zero out there. And this is the balls ass reality of life. It just is. And there's studies, and this isn't the way it should be. Attractive women get promoted ahead of the curve. Flat fucking truth. Okay. So if you're attractive and smart, I mean, I'm not saying it's a rocket to the top, but it helps. But if you're Quasimodo, just look at the end of the continuum. We don't quite have any Quasimodos in here. We got a couple close, but I'm not going to embarrass you in front of YouTube. YouTube, if she panned the camera, don't pan it, cat. We got a couple quasi. Yeah, that's funny. Quasis in here. Just imagine if you're a Quasimodo and you go through the program and you got LinkedIn on you got your picture on LinkedIn. You got your picture on LinkedIn, and you're not getting much response on your messages. Now, I don't know. Do some of the LinkedIn not have pictures? Okay. Well, I haven't seen any of those, but no, I come to think of it, I have seen some. So you're not quasi, but to the extent that you've had any success in life with the opposite sex, with modeling, with this, that, and the other thing, that adds to your self-esteem because you've learned, you've gained confidence, you've gained self-confidence, and the same thing running for public office. Back in the day when I was telling you earlier that they wanted me to run for governor, one, I was blue-eyed, white-skinned, Hispanic. I mean, and they said, rightly or wrongly, that I was attractive, and so I wasn't Quasimodo. So the attractive thing I could relate to, but I didn't want to be voted in just because I was fucking a blue-eyed, white-skinned Hispanic. That's for goddamn sure. Of course, I never went into politics, but if I run for governor, as I said earlier, I might have knocked out George Bush from being governor of Texas. So it would be interesting, to see what would have happened with the world. I would have bombed just like he did, so everybody just understands. I would have done sooner. I wouldn't have got any fucking consensus, and I wouldn't have had the Secretary of State go to NATO. I wouldn't have done any of that. I would just bomb the motherfuckers. Okay, so just so you understand, we would have been on that fucking deal, and I wouldn't be pulling out the troops now either. But okay, to show you where my politics is, the Army would have loved them. The military would have loved me. No question about that. Yeah. Okay, but it's nobody talks about it. Some of you guys that are into physical fitness and bodybuilding, most of the guys, physical fitness and bodybuilding guys, started as skinny little pukes, and they did it for self-confidence, etc. That's fine, but that transgresses into what we're trying to do, and now we're teaching you how to do now. When you go out and you're making these presentations, and when we get to a section tomorrow about dressing British and thinking Yiddish, because we want you to dress for success, because how you dress is a reflection of how you feel about yourself. Now the hippie fucking dope smoking, ear-ringed, tattooed people have a whole other theory about that. I am who I am, that bullshit. Okay. And the guys at Waco, we saw pictures of that got in the shootout with the police down in Waco. And I've been there. And my daughter, who went to Baylor for a short period of time, she would say, Daddy, I could have had a job at that place. Where they had the shootout. Huh? Twin Peaks, that's it. Okay. I could have had a job there, Daddy. I said, well, that's why I yanked you out of there, honey, so don't worry about it. But they've got a whole other theory about, they want to be able to show that they're not conforming to the social norms. Okay. Well, in this, we are going to conform to the social business norms because I want to give you the highest probability of being successful. And I can tell you the highest probability of being successful is to more or less look like a professional financial person, a professional banker, but better than. Wear better clothes, better this, better that. Now, I forgot to mention yesterday, the tie I wore yesterday, this is a frog tie, just so I can remember about the frogs. And I forgot to put on my frog cufflinks that Sally had made for me at Tiffany. But yesterday's tie I had, and I was going to tell a story. It's not a story, it's the truth. I got, when I was part of Secretary Vance, the former Secretary of State under Clinton, I was privileged to be in a wedding of his daughter. I was one of the grooms. She married one of my friends. And but my suitcases came late. Did you get your suitcases? Okay. My suitcases came late, so I didn't have all the clothes I needed. So I had to go to a men's store there. And it's either Far Hills or Short Hills, New Jersey, something Hills where rich people live. Short Hills, New Jersey. Okay. So I had to get clothes and the exclusive men's shop. And so that tie I wore yesterday I bought for an afternoon tea when we were in blazers and slacks and shit, and but with tie. And so I bought that tie. And I hadn't pulled that tie out. I got 500 ties, but I hadn't pulled that tie out in a long, long time. And all these guys, Secretary Vance, they all look alike. I mean, not look alike, but I mean they all dress alike. And if you look at prime ministers and you look at presidents of countries, except for India and Pakistan and a few places like that, where they dress based on culture, they're wearing dark suits, white shirts, plain ties, etc. So we want to look like those guys so we fit in. So that their perception of us is within their comfort zone from initial impression, because you only make one time to make a first impression. Only one. And we're going to make them uncomfortable enough pitching what we're pitching. So we want them at least to have their, don't take this wrong. We want them to have their dress up, at least when we start. We may not get their knickers down, but we want their dress up, or at least loose. So then, because many of the things that we will be presenting, we'll put them on their back foot, as they say in the UK, because we're going to be on the offensive. We're going to be interviewing them. We're going to do some more interviews when we get off of YouTube. But it starts with how we feel about ourselves, and if we don't feel good about ourselves, and not because we went to a rah-rah seminar and we feel good for 3 days or 6 hours or some shit like that. But I mean, we actually feel good about ourselves. So in that regard, I do like martial arts. I do like physical fitness because in theory, if you're going to ever feel good about yourself, it's because if you made some physical change in your body, to the better. Not weighing 500 pounds. Although I told you we've had at least one that not 500, but 440 anyway. 440 is close enough to 500 to me to call him the 500-pound guy. Anyway, so this is nobody talks about this, but it's the fucking truth. Not everybody. I had a senior guy at the leading investment bank tell me recently, and he was from the same part of the world you are. And he said something about his big nose. Now, this is a guy that makes $20, $30, $40 million a year. Now, why in the fuck would he mention that to me? You all know why. And this guy's a big fucking hitter. Had a few drinks. I'm just a loud mouth with a big nose, is more or less what he said. Well, except you minus the 40 million a year, you're the same thing. Yeah, and so the more comfortable you get with yourself, the better you're going to be. I'll see you tonight, YouTubers.